It's the beginning of a new week. We've made it. Mondays. Happy Mondays to everyone. This is Run It Back. Lou Williams, Chandler Parsons. My name's Michelle. Guys, do we have a fabulous weekend? Chandler's in another place again. Where are you now?
I'm currently at my parents' house. I had a hell of a weekend in Palm Beach, but now I'm here. Shout out my dad right behind these doors. Made me a nice little Folgers coffee latte. I'm back home, baby.
Nice. Nice. And
You look a little
Lou, good
sleepy,
weekend for you?
Chandler.
You do.
Yeah,
You
I
look
don't
like
feel
you look
great. I left all my bags at Palm Beach in my buddy's car, so I have nothing.
All right.
classic Chandler. And Lou, your hair's down. I like it.
Hair is down. It got a little itchy last night. I said, "What the hell?" I took my braids down, and so right now I'm ponytailing, and
I love it.
hopefully I get it redone in a couple days. But until then, easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. I'm gonna let my hair fly.
What about you, Beads? What's shaking this weekend with you?
You know what? A lot of television and hanging out back in New York. So it's nice to be here. Though it's getting cold and crisp, which I like. So you get to wear a coat for a few days.
Understatement.
I know. I love it. Guys, we're doing all this happy stuff now because we're about to get into some basketball and we're going to start with the 76ers, and that's where the mood takes a turn. Yeah, playing the Clippers. That was a win for LA, a big one, 125-99. James Harden had 23 points. Zubac with 16 and 12 rebounds. Tyrese Maxey had 17 and Jared McCain had 18. Just not enough. Second worst record in the league, only behind the Wizards, which is insane to say out loud. Obviously, Embiid and Paul George not playing last night. The injury history of both of them does not bode well for the future. Lou, I'm going to start with you on this one. Look, you just signed Paul George, and Embiid's the guy. There's no moving on, is there? I know fans are starting to get real itchy. Like, what are we doing here?
Not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. You know, you're talking about month 3 of the Paul George signing. You know, he has a different set of rules than Joel Embiid. You know, Joel has been there the whole time throughout his career. The fans are getting a little antsy with him just based on his history in the playoffs and injuries and just his availability. You know, now Paul George, he has a history of injuries as well, but he's very early on in this process of signing this 4-year, $100+ million contract. You know, so if you're the 76ers, you still got to see this thing through. You still got to give yourselves a chance to see this big 3 and see what they can do to perform. You know, those 3 guys have only played a total of 6 minutes together. You don't throw the towel in just yet. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but you know, as bad as this record is, as bad as the vibe is in Philadelphia right now, you don't give up on that process of having those 3 guys. You know, these are some of the most talented guys that you're going to find in the league. And as a sample size in the Eastern Conference, you know, you have those 3 guys on the floor. I feel like I can speak for Chandler as well. You have enough talent to be able to compete. Now, when those guys aren't available, it's showing in the numbers. That team is not as good when you don't have Embiid and Paul George on the floor. With those guys on the floor, we're having a completely different conversation. So fans are going to get restless. Fans are going to get agitated with the availability of both of these guys, but we're very early on in this process of this Philadelphia Big 3. You don't throw the towel in just yet.
Yeah, I don't know. You can't move on. Now, can you possibly shut down a Joel Embiid? Can you fully just take them, off the team this year and chalk it up to next year? I think we're getting somewhat close to that because again, like Lou just said, this big 3 together and healthy on the floor, it's going to be good. And I think they understood it was going to take time. I don't think they'd be this banged up and miss this much time. That part of it's devastating when you go into a season, you have championship expectations, and then fast forward now you're 3-13 and the same record with the Wizards. Like that is not obviously okay and not what they thought, but also to trade them right now, there's no real value. These guys have to prove that they can be on the floor. They have to prove their contracts are massive. And I think that would be extremely premature to look at moving one of these guys before even. It's like the Brooklyn situation when they had that big 3. They barely played together. So similar to the Clippers situation when they had James, Kawhi, and PJ. You have to give it time. And first of all, they have to be healthy, and they're not. So like Lou just said, like I think the Eastern Conference is so wide open. This year, I think this hole is getting a little too deep for them to dig out of. But I think the play is still, I've been saying this for weeks, you got to shut down Joel. You have to fix whatever is wrong with him because it's not just going to magically repair, right? It's not just going to magically get better. He's not just going to magically be able to play back to back. So maybe there's a procedure out there. Maybe there's something he can do to just kind of chalk up this season and move forward. But you're not ready to move on yet because you haven't seen this product on the floor yet. And the potential is through the roof.
That 6 minutes is such a bizarre stat that that's all we've seen. And I know now there's, saying there's inflammation in the knee. And Chandler, you've convinced me, like I've been saying it now to anyone who will listen, like this is just, you gotta shut it down. It ain't just going to heal overnight by some miracle. I do have a question though, as a nerdy fan though. Like I'm fascinated by these types of moments in the league when superstars are having this kind of a weird situation. And then I'm always amazed by what happens. And it's not saying it's going to happen, but if you were to shock Joel Embiid out into the world, would there be teams, given everything that's going on, injury, all that, but he is still Joel Embiid? Do you think there'd be a lot of teams interested in figuring out a way to make that happen? Chandler?
I think there will be. This is an MVP just a couple of seasons ago. Like how quickly you can forget how dominant this dude is. And again, it's never been about production. It's never been about talent with him. It's can he be on the floor? You kind of have that same hold your breath feeling with guys like him, guys like Zion, like people that just can't find ways. You feel for him. As someone that went through injuries, I feel for the dude. And again, he hasn't done himself any favors with the things he says and the stuff with the media, which he knows that. And I think he's grown from that. But yeah, I think there's always going to be a market for a Joel Embiid who can shoot the ball, who can dominate down low, who can play through. But again, I think it's way too early for that. I think he, number one, needs to get healthy. He's got a lot of guaranteed money left and a lot of years left on that contract. I don't think there's a way just to kind of tiptoe around this season, keep kind of being in this no man's land, not being healthy enough to play, always having inflammation and swelling in his knees. Just take the bullet. The fans are going to shit on you. They're going to be so upset that you're not playing. But right now, I feel like they've already chalked up this season anyway. So do that, get healthy, do whatever you have to do. And then next year, again, now you're going into a fresh new season with confidence, with high hopes again, but you're actually fully healthy this time. So I think that's on the table that they can do that. But it's just, I feel for the Dukes. I just know he's not healthy. PG can't be healthy. Tyrese Maxey's missed time. So like, they're not right. And when they are right, I'm a big believer in them.
Just for notes, 125 teams have started out seasons 3 and 13. 8 have made the playoffs, so there's a slight chance.
And also, again, this team is constructed for this big three. Look at their offensive. Yeah. They're 29th in points. They're 28th in pace. They're 29th in field goal percentage. They're 25th in three-point percentage. They are god awful at every offensive statistic like category. So they need those big three. Obviously, extremely quickly. Like they need it now. Exactly. It's not going to happen.
Lou, I know you still, know guys in that locker room. What are the vibes? Like, is it over in there? Is there optimism? Like, what does it feel like?
No, I mean, listen, there's always optimism when you got two guys out that can bring you 60 points a night, and you look at Tyrese Maxey and what he was able to do last night. You look at the emergence of Jerry McCain. They still got a lot of pieces that they're confident in if they can get healthy. Now, that if is a big, big, big time what if. But if they can get all of these guys healthy and back on the same page, I'm sitting here looking at my phone now. As crazy as it sounds, y'all, they're only 5 games out of the 6 seed still. Right now, as bad as it is, as much as the sun may not be shining in sunny Philadelphia, they're 5.5 games out of the 6 seed right now. You get those guys back in the fold. Look, we still got 5, maybe 6 months of basketball left. Ton of time for this team to turn it around. If they can turn it around, these guys get healthy, have a great December, have a great January going into All-Star break, we're going to be having a completely different conversation. The narrative is going to be different. The dialogue is going to change. If this team can go on a run, we just watch Milwaukee do it. As much as we talk trash about Milwaukee and we're critical of those guys, they put 5 or 6 games together and they turned this thing around. Now they're back in the mix at the 6th seed. No different than Philadelphia right now.
See, Lou, that's the problem, though. Joel's thinking that way, too, right? He's thinking, man, if I could just get healthy and we're only 6 games out of this and we could just go on a run similar to what literally Milwaukee just did. When we're healthy, whoever we play that night, we think we have a chance to win. They are that loaded with names and vets and everything. So I think that almost is hurting them in a way because it's enabling, it's prolonging his process of actually getting healthy because he thinks how we think. He thinks, man, the Eastern Conference is wide open. We can go on a 1 or 2 week run right here, and we're right back in the fold. And I think physically, I think it's impossible for this year. I really do.
Yeah, no, I feel like you're postponing the inevitable. Like this bad news is coming, and it's just why wait? is what it feels like. And by the way, the Eagles are winning, so there's a distraction. The minute football ends, it's all focused.
And listen, in Philadelphia, that's a real thing. Like,
yeah,
it's a competitive nature in Philadelphia against the professional sports teams, and this is with the fans. Like, hey, the Eagles are doing this and that. What y'all gonna do? The Phillies are in the fun for the World Series. What y'all gonna do? That is a real thing in Philadelphia. I've experienced that in my time as a player there.
Tough times, but not for James Harden. He led his team with 23 points. Of course, it's his former team. Chandler, you're petty, right? Like, does this feel extra special when you have a good game against your old team and they're actually struggling?
Yeah, you don't hate it. You definitely don't hate it. You love to see it. And again, James Harden, he's been great. He's been healthy. He's in great shape. Him and Norman Powell have just been carrying this team to relevance this year. And I don't think we kind of expected this. And Zubac has been great. And I said in the beginning of the year, this team has a lot of guys. It's like last chance you. You look at them, it's Chris Dunn. It's Porter, it's Mo Bamba. It's guys that are kind of like trying to prove that they still belong in the NBA. So every moment they get, they're trying to take advantage of Bones Highland. He's only played 5 games, but he's on that same kind of wave where like these guys need this season. They have to buy into everything that this organization is doing. And it seems to be doing it. They seem to be having fun. Norman Powell's had a hell of a year. James, Zubac. So they've had these guys. Terrence Mann's kind of getting back in the swing of things. So they have all these pieces. They're the 5th best defense in the entire NBA. So they can win games even when James has an off night, even when Norman doesn't go get his 26 that he's averaging. So this team defends, they're tough, they're deep, and they have a lot of guys that have a lot of stuff to prove.
Yeah, they can miss a guy too for a night or two, and it's not detrimental to everything. We'll move on to the next one. The Celtics, the Timberwolves. This was a close one, 107-105 victory for Boston. Jaylen Brown, 29 points. Jason Tatum. By the way, Jaylen Brown had 7 threes. 26 points for Tatum. Anthony Edwards had 28 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Gobert had 10 points, but he had 20 rebounds. Timberwolves, though, have lost back-to-back games. They've also lost 5 of their last 7. We are now 16 games in. Obviously, this was one of the bigger trade scenarios that went down in the league. So the Ant Randle Gobert situation. I mean, Lou, we love to look back with hindsight and go, that trade was awful. Or maybe it wasn't. What are you thinking so far?
Man, that Randle move always confused me. And it has absolutely nothing to do with Julius Randle. You look at this team last year, you saw that they were building in the right direction. They were moving in the right direction. You finally started to get that feeling. The Timberwolves were back to being in the mix of the conversation of, the top teams in the Western Conference. And you got young stars powering that. The stars were aligning. Then boom, you trade Cat, who was having a stellar last season, alongside Ant-Man and Co., and you kind of put yourselves in a trick bag by trading Cat. That trade pulled the curtains back on the business of basketball and showing sometimes tough decisions that are made aren't, only just basketball, but it affects your bottom line. And they made a business decision based on them being a small market team and where they were financially. I'll let Chandler expand on the business side of that conversation, but pure hoop from my vantage point, I never thought this will work. You had a clear 1-2 punch that worked and you shake the tree based on business. And now, you're in a struggle and you're trying to find a rhythm. You're trying to find chemistry with adding new guys in. Granted, they thought DiVincenzo was going to be playing better basketball than he's playing, but outside of that, Rudy Gobert is a guy that's always been in the paint. That's not going to give you much off the block. He's going to be, one of those guys that's going to be in the defensive player of the year conversation all of the time. He's going to be able to anchor you on the defensive end, but offensively, he's not going to tribute as much as, a Cat would, one of these bigs that can space the floor in this evolving NBA game of ours, and so you have that. And then you add Julius Randle, who's also a ball dominant guy who needs the ball to have an impact on a basketball game, and you just completely change the dynamic and the identity of your basketball team. I never understood that from the beginning of this trade. So bad decision.
Yeah, the timing of this trade was weird. This team was on the rise. They were so much fun to watch. They played both sides of the ball. Cat and Ant had this dynamic. And it's interesting when a trade happens like this, of this magnitude, you have an initial feeling of, who won. And right away, I'm thinking I'm like, damn, the Knicks got better. Like the Knicks, when you add Cat to that roster, they got better. And naturally, I just thought the Minnesota Timberwolves, they got worse. The spacing now is interesting when you have less of a good shooter as Randle and Cat. How do him and Gobert work? Now you can see that paint is clogged up now. Anthony Edwards is shooting more threes than ever. Their offense drastically changed and got worse with just the departure of Karl Anthony Towns. He's that good. He is that lethal of a shooter where he's perfect for Anthony Edwards. So that alone is why I didn't love this trade early. Now I think you look at, they thought they were basically, they're stuck with Rudy Gobert. I think they could get more for Towns is I think why they did this trade. They could, when you can get a Julius Randle, when you can get a Dante DiVincenzo, who, by the way, like Lou just said, he's not playing near as good as he did when in New York, but you get a piece like that, now all of a sudden it's more attractive than what you could have possibly got for Rudy Gobert. So I understand why they did it, but man, they were on such a rise. They were rolling, and then they fixed what's not broken. And it just didn't seem like the right time. I didn't love it. Naturally, you can just see offensively, it was going to make them a worse offensive team, which is taking Cat off that roster and having more of a mid-range, less shooting big like Randall. So I think they're going to be fine. I think they have enough talent, but after the year they had last year to have to start this year, it kind of feels like Dallas. It feels like maybe they got a little bit worse.
What about the Dante thing? He was averaging like 15 and a half last season. He's down below 10 right now. Again, we're 16 games in. Is this just simply different situation? It was last year a fluke? Like, what are we? And I don't, by the way, I love Dante DiVincenzo. So even saying fluke hurts my heart. But here I am, Chandler. What was it?
No, I don't think it was a fluke at all. I think he's a great role player. I think like that he is who he is. I don't think what's the ceiling with him? I think he can go get you 20, 25 on certain nights. He can knock down the three, he can get out in transition, he can defend. He's a versatile player. He's a player that I would love to have on my team. But I think we need to make expectations for him fair. He's not this all-star type of player. He is a great player that can play with anybody. I think his shooting is he struggled a little bit. Again, he's in a new system, new market, new team, new teammates. That's going to naturally take time. But at the end of the day, he is what he is. He's a great value at what he gets paid. He's a great value at what he can bring to the floor. But I didn't expect much more from Dante DiVincenzo, to be honest with you. I think it's pretty fair to say he's going to average 10, 11, 12 points, 4 assists, to do a little bit of everything, be a great teammate. So I think he's exactly where he is. Now, when you watch this team play, they play slow, they play with no pace. They're a horrible rebounding team for a guy like Rudy Gobert who can go and get you 20 a night. So they have a lot of things that aren't working in their favor right now. But to me, the big glaring thing is just their offense. It's so stagnant, it's so slow, it's not as open because they don't have as good a shooting.
Oh man, do not waste Anthony Edwards. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. I think I'm speaking for everyone. Let's move on to some headlines. Lakers losing to Denver. That's right. Denver outscored the Lakers 70-39 in the second half of that one on Saturday. They've now beaten the Lakers 13 out of the last 14 times. Also, first time all season, by the way, that AD was scoring under 20 points. After this one, JJ Redick said that clearly the spirit to compete just wasn't there. The spirit, Lou. Look, calling out the whole team publicly, no problems with that, right?
Yeah, and to me, this is not a call out. This is normal to us. Sometimes your team just don't have it for whatever reason. You're gonna have nights like this where you just can't get right no matter what. The energy is gonna be low. Mistakes will be made that you don't usually make as a team. And it just feels like the wheels are falling off and you can't all get on the same page. You call those throwaway games. Hell, sometimes you don't even watch the film on games like that when you feel like you can't get your energy going and you can't get right. You throw it away and you move on to the next game, hoping for a better day. So that's the vibe that I got from JJ Redick when he said that. This is not too much of a call out to me. It'll be different, based on tone, but it just looked like, this is one of those nights where you just throw this game away. We just didn't have it, and we'll fight again for the next one.
Yeah, this is just a stinker. And again, AD, would they need him to be elite? They need him to be aggressive. He took 19 shots. He was 6 of 19. Braun was a little sloppy with the ball. He had 6 or 7 turnovers. So they just, in a long season, we have a show every single day. So it's hard to kind of nitpick every single because shit changes. So and JJ, we said this earlier, how is he going to handle success? When people were praising him when they started off hot and they went on a little losing streak. It's a different media market. It's the head coach of Los Angeles. Everything's a story. Everything they do, everything he says. So everything's going to be nitpicked when you're JJ Redick. So I do think he's got to be smart and tread lightly around certain things. But I have no problem with him calling out the team. I think he's earned that trust and respect already from that locker room. The guys praise him. That they clearly trust him moving forward and love him as their head coach. So I don't have a problem with this at all. I think he's going to continue to have to do things like this. He's got to motivate. He's got to find ways to do things like this. So I have no problem with this. They had an off night, and again, like Lou said, some of these nights you don't even watch the film. You literally just you might circle back to the film the next time they play Denver. You might like run over some things that you did wrong to correct them, but keep it moving.
By the way,
the craziest thing on this game was the Jokic with 0.2 seconds or whatever left, full court. He basically just patted the ball 75 feet. That was one of the craziest missed shots I've ever seen in the history of the NBA.
Hey, you know, speaking of JJ Redick, we need to get a snapshot of him right now. How he looks, how young he is, how vibrant he is.
Yes.
And let's see how he looks at the end of the season. You know how they do presidents when
Barack Obama, he aged like 30 years.
Same thing with JJ Redick. See how much his job is going to age him in the season. Let's get a snapshot now and then.
We have to. Yeah, no, keep track of that. And then I wish you could do a time lapse just so you could see it just all happening. By the way, when a team, and we've seen it, it's all over the league. You know, people go to Toronto, whatever. 13 of the last 14, though, to win if you're Denver. Is that now a mental situation we're looking at on the LA side? Just because I wouldn't say they're necessarily always better, but here we are.
Got your number.
Yeah. And the teams are different. When it's that long, teams are different. Coaches are different sometimes. So I just think it's coincidence. I do think Denver's the worst place to play. It's impossible. It's the best home court advantage to be in the NBA, just with the altitude and everything. But yeah, I just think sure, they have their number, they match up well with them, but also when it's this long, 13, 14, 15 games, there's different teams, different roster, different coaches. So I don't think there's anything there.
By the way, I believe with this victory, Mike Malone became the winningest coach in franchise history, I believe, and it was against the Lakers. So I'm sure that was a little special nod. More headlines, Zion. Hate starting this one. Shams reported on Friday that he's not even close to returning to play with the hamstring injury. Not even close, just feels so like a gut punch, Lou. But we did see he had a nice new tattoo on his back. Are you hitting the panic button on Zion?
Listen, haven't we seen this movie before? Like, you know, that's how Anthony Davis became a Laker in the first place, you know. Fans get to a point where they buy in wholeheartedly to a concept of a player being that guy for your city, and the injuries just prevents that player to ever get to that place of consistency and you buying into what you were sold as a fan. You know, I'm not sure how many games he's played entirely, you know, as a New Orleans Pelican, but it feels like it hadn't been quite enough. You know, they want him available. They may just have deja vu of this happening again, since he was the second coming to this guy, Anthony Davis, who was there for the city before he was. You know, as far as this off the court activities, you know, people got to understand you're still an adult. You're still entitled to live your life and do things you want to do off the court, include getting tattoos. You know,
it's huge, Lou. It's huge.
But like, what does it have to do with his hamstring? He's laying on the table.
Nothing. No, it's good for the hamstring.
But you know, fans correlate these things. Like, why is he sitting there getting a tattoo on his hamstring? It's like, it doesn't make a difference. There's only so many hours in a day that I can spend rehabbing this tattoo and get rehabbing his hamstring and getting back on the basketball court. And fans just don't understand it. They don't want to see it until you're back on the court, you know. So listen, some of the criticisms have been fair of Zion, but you got to give him grace. You know, this is a guy he's a big body guy. This is a huge dude. You know, he's dealing with nutrition. He's dealing with the rigors of an NBA schedule. He's dealing with a lot of different things. And his body hadn't been able to hold up to the level that it's needed in New Orleans. But, you know, the fans are, very much like Philadelphia. They're getting antsy down in New Orleans. They want this guy available. They want him on the floor. So are we hitting the panic button? I don't know if we're I don't know if we're panicking, but it's like, okay, enough is enough. What's going on here?
I'm panicking. I'm panicking on the whole team. Look at their whole roster. CJ McCollum played 4 games. 4 games. Zion played 6 games. Murphy's played 5 games. Herb Jones has played 4 games. So this team, DeJounte Murray has played 1 game. It's like
Jose Alvarado. Like it's a disaster.
I found myself Googling these dudes.
With everybody.
Yeah, so like, again, I understand with Zion, and you knew this was going to be kind of an issue. Like, I remember my trainer when he was coming out, they're like, man, I just don't see how someone that big and explosive, how his body can physically sustain it. Like, it's not like it's rocket science. This guy, he is a absolute load. He is explosive. We've never seen something quite like him. Like, remember at Duke when he literally blew through the Nike shoe? Like his
Yes.
body doesn't work like everyone else's body. So yeah, I do think you have to kind of hold your breath with him, even more so than a Joel Embiid, just because of that sort of explosiveness, that sort of athleticism. But at the end of the day, 1 season, 2 season, 3. Now it's almost like here we go again with them, where that is where the panic comes in, because as much fun as he is to watch, as good as he is when he does play, he's unbelievable. The stats he puts up in the short amount of games he plays are freakish. Like they are elite. But as a fan, as a part of this organization, you start thinking big picture here. Like, okay, how many years can we continue to go through this? How much can we keep investing in this dude that at the end of the day is not on the floor? And I feel for the dude too, because he gets ran through the mud too, media wise, and then something like this with the tattoo comes up, and it's like, guys, like he's getting a tattoo. Like
He
relax.
gets body shamed. He gets body shamed more than anyone.
Yeah, like
ever
the
has.
dude literally gets fat shamed. Like it's again, he needs to be healthy. He needs to play. I don't know what he's doing on his spare time.
Although, I'm not putting myself on the internet without my shirt on, though. I'll be honest with you. I'm not giving everybody ammo. And as a person who's had hamstring problems, you can rehab your hamstring while getting a back tattoo. You can do little curls. Like, it's actually probably time well spent.
The name of the game is content these days, Beadle. Everybody got to show everything. It is what it is.
I'm just saying this team is just doomed with injuries, and it doesn't seem like they're getting any better. And this is looking like a top 3 pick, which is the bright side.
Jeez Louise. Can we do one quick thing? I want to get it on tape here. How long Fred VanVLEET's going to be suspended for? If you missed it, he was ejected when the Rockets lost to the Trailblazers. He dropped a lot of fun obscenity. I mean, there were some F's, some B's. I believe there were some other beautiful little words thrown in. What are we looking at?
Hey, someone did this last year. I forgot, but they went through every ref. Remember? And they went and used.
He got right in his face too.
The contact there is what's going to get him. You can't touch a ref. You can't.
So what are we looking at? 3?
5.
Minimum.
5.
Minimum 3.
5.
Yeah.
Just based on the contact. You know, hey, listen, Chandler will tell you, we got this thing. If you're gonna get thrown out, get your money's worth. By all means, VanVLEET got his money's worth. Where he messed up, he made slight contact with that ref. They're gonna give him 5 games for that. If he didn't make contact, he would have got 1 or 2 games for just cursing him out. You suck. You suck. You're cool. You suck. You're a bitch. I'm out of here.
You get a purse.
One of the all-time great scenes out of a movie. So I mean, listen, I don't have any problem.
I got a good hearty laugh out of that, Fred, because listen, if you're gonna get thrown out and you're gonna donate that money back to the league, by all means, get your money's worth. That was worth every.
He's also probably the last guy on this team that I would think would erupt like that and go.
No. Fred's like that. He just
I didn't know that.
He does a great job of disguising it, but Fred got some heat with him. So I was happy to see it real one time.
Apparently, because I read that and then I saw it and I was like, oh, okay. All right, we got to take a quick break. When we come back from the Athletic, Sam Amick makes us a little bit smarter on the other side.
Run it up, the running back.
Well, welcome back. We're going to be joined now by someone we have a lot in common with, guys, from the Athletic. He too suffered the loss of Shams Charania in the offseason. Sam Amick joins the show now. How are you dealing with the loss, sir?
A little too soon, Michelle. Too soon. That hurts. That hurts. What's up, everybody? Appreciate you having me.
Yep, he was missed. All right, we're going to start with the 76ers. It's so much drama. It's like the Jets of the NBA at this point. We know about the Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid. We know about the leaked meeting, and I want to get to how it gets leaked in the first place. But as far as what that relationship looks like right now, is it better? What can you tell us?
It's funny, and the guys can speak to this eventually. For me, and all the time I've done this, I don't remember something where what seems to have happened in the locker room was so direct and on point, and kind of like a fastball up by the chin. But then on the back end of it, everybody involved says the relationship is fine, that Tyrese and Joel, that this is how they are. This is, what they've built over these past 5 years of working together. And that's on both sides of the equation. Joel obviously has spoken publicly about how he sees it. He's upset that it got leaked, but he's not really pushing back against the substance of what Tyrese shared, which is that he's just got to be a better pro. So, all the indications are they're good there. They're not good in many other places. As you guys know, Philly is struggling.
Yeah. See, my same thing, when things come out like this, there's just certain things that have to be in-house. But then when you're losing, obviously everything is even magnified even worse and more. And
Yep.
I know Joel a little bit, and the not playing is one thing. The coming late consistently, now that is where I get a little confused on that. Like him actually being late to everything is what I read.
That's the thing. I mean, I'll be honest, guys. I knew that his professionalism had been questioned consistently, you know, around the league and within the organization. I was a little surprised by, like, man, the second the top was blown off this story, then all of a sudden, you know, in these conversations that you're constantly having with folks around the league, like the narrative instantly became like, oh, you in the media, like y'all have been way too soft on him and this has been going on forever. And that contrast between, you know, the discussion before and the discussion after was pretty great. I'm still not sure what my take is on how much folks are piling on versus what's really been the case.
Right.
But you know, the weight is something that yes, within the Sixers, that has been a concern for a long time, you know, and it's that kind of first guy to the gym mentality that he has not necessarily always had. I am empathetic to the big fella though, because he's such an incredible player. And then you just see this almost decade-long stretch now of his body failing him. And that's got to be tough, of course.
Yeah.
I always wonder about this because you guys like on the TV side of things, right? When we hear audio gets leaked or a tape gets leaked, there's usually motivation. The person's either hated, they burned bridges. It's a professional hit piece. Like that's why I'm always a little fascinated by these leaks. I like the idea though that he was I mean, the headlines are like Joel Embiid adamant about finding the leak, who I've been referring to as the rat. That's not a thing, right? Like there's no actual activity going on to find out, or is it just let it be?
I can't speak for him. I actually want, Chandler and Lou to weigh in here because you guys are smart as hell. And the part that cracks me up is that it's, the circle's only so tight. And when Joel acts so confused, I'm not trying to say that he knows or I know for sure where it originally came from, but we know how this goes. Like you end up talking to your people, the circle expands. No, I don't think Joel's going to find the guy or the woman. And if he did, I don't know that it would really matter all that much. It's something where maybe it's a way for him to just kind of, if I'm being honest, to not really, really, really have to talk about the content of the discussion as much as it's not something he wants to have a public discourse about. I mentioned to somebody yesterday, it makes me think of the Draymond Jordan Poole situation with the Warriors when it was, a lot of Warriors officials kind of throwing their hands up saying, oh, we're going to find the person. And then 2 weeks goes by and suddenly they kind of stop trying. To me, that part's going to go away.
That was even worse though, because that's an actual video that got
real.
100%.
Like I remember when I was in Memphis, there was a time where remember Garrett Temple and Omri Caspi, two of the nicest guys I've ever played with. They got in a fist fight in the locker room after a game. And it was like literally punches thrown, like they beat the shit out of each other.
Right.
Damn.
We had a whole thing afterwards. This doesn't get out.
Y'all didn't break it up.
We let him scrap. We let him scrap. And we were like, we stopped it. We were like, all right, this doesn't get out here. The next day, like it was like a Woj bomb or Shams reported it. So like we spent somewhat, and we were just so caught off guard. Like, all right, who said? Like we literally just had a team meeting. So that to me, it's like we got so caught up in who leaked it rather than the actual issue. And I feel like that's kind of what happened here.
Sam, this is what you guys got to understand, right? You spend so much time together when you're traveling, you're on the road, you do these team bondings, these team meetings, you do the pre-camps and all of those things. It gets to a point where you're spending more time with the organization than you are with your family in a lot of different aspects of your life. So when things like this, you want to know who can't you trust? Who's the guy in here that you can't talk around, you can't vent to in a bad game? Listen, we're all human. We're all going to gossip a little bit after the game.
Right.
Bro, X, Y, and Z play like trash tonight. You want to be able to be comfortable to have those conversations because it's all done in good faith, And so once these things start going out to the media, you just want to know who you can trust and who you can communicate to. And I think that's what makes it more of a thing than anything. When you're Joel Embiid, and you, like you said, you spent, a decade or so in one organization, You trust these people. These are people you give your playoff bonuses to. These are people that you help, or if you can change something, they want some tickets to something and you can take them to an Eagles game and you got a suite. These are people that you're inviting in your personal space. And if they're taking that for granted and they're using that against you, for whatever reasons to leak information, you want to know who that person is.
I hear that, Lou, for sure. And I wonder real quick to kind of throw it back to you. Like, to me, the counter would be that if I was a player, it's not always as clear cut as somebody being a rat. You know what I mean? Like, the reality of the human condition with what we do is everybody talks, and that next person you tell it to, they might not have circled back with the player to get a green light on sharing it. You know what I mean? So that, to me, is where, unless everybody just makes a decision that we're not even telling family about this, we're not telling agents, we're not telling anybody, then more often than not, some stuff's going to get out.
And let's be honest, too, nowadays with social media too, Lou, like, you tell one of your boys, your girlfriend, your wife, anything, that can get out to the lady doing her
100%.
nails. The next thing you know, it's on.
Yeah.
It is
That's
so.
the easiest
It would have
thing.
happened a lot more.
Yeah.
That's the
back in
first thing
day
you do.
than now.
What's
And
the
that's
first
the
thing
thing.
you do when you're done with a game? You call home, you call your boys, you call your girl, you call your
Yeah.
agent, you do all your check-ins, and
Right.
if something exciting happened, you want to share that something exciting happened. And that
Right.
person, you can't determine how they're going to share that information or not.
Exactly. And I've been through it a million times, media wise. I've had times when folks are hunting really hard for, whoever, helped me leak something. And the reality is, I'm sitting there the whole time thinking, man, it's not as personal as they might think. It's just people being people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it seem a lot less nefarious when you put it that way. Look,
Sure.
we as a show, I think, Chandler started this, but we've kind of gotten to the point with the Joel Embiid injury situation that it feels like we're postponing the inevitable here, right? Like, this is a bigger injury than we're being told, and that eventually it's just going to be an all-out shutdown procedure, what have you. The added part that the Olympics were played in, I think, is what's really giving it a bigger stink, Sam.
Sure.
Is there an injury being hidden? Are they just not sure how bad it is? Like, what's actually going on?
So, Michelle, my understanding is that I do believe there was, a setback of some kind at some point along the way. But where it gets tricky is that Joel is kind of notoriously private about, his business, about his body. And he, on a routine basis, basically pushes the Sixers to be, as secretive as he wants them to be. Now, that got them in trouble. That is why they got fined recently. It wasn't about, initially we thought they were going to get hit for the load management comments that they made to ESPN. On the back end, what it was the league spent 3 days legitimately investigating Joel's situation. And when I say that, and you guys know this, I think the fans sometimes don't really understand what investigating means. We're not talking about a couple phone calls and barely digging in. We're talking about medical records, documents, maybe in different times, phone records. They really dug in, and their conclusion was that Joel's left knee situation was legitimate, was serious, and was worthy of the kind of handling that the Sixers were giving it. The only reason they got fined is because their public statements were in such contrast to what was happening privately. They had said basically that he was healthy and that he was ready to go, and they made it seem as if they were doing load management without, an actual injury, and that doesn't jive with the TV partners, and that's not the direction the league is going. It is a confusing situation because I was in France with Team USA covering the Olympics, and talking to people from the national team, what struck me is that what we saw on TV and on the court is one thing. When I learned that he didn't miss a practice, he didn't miss a shoot around, that he was a 100% participant in all the national team activities, now you try to reconcile that with the way he's been moving during the NBA season. Just common sense tells you, like, okay, something in between went down. I don't know the exact medical, term that we would put on this. They are not sharing it, but it does seem real. And like you said, the way it's tracking is pretty concerning for him.
Sam, I'll tell you this, especially as someone who's been through a lot of knee surgeries and injuries in my career, most players get second and third opinions. So not that you don't trust or don't like the team doctor, but like when I played in Memphis, I would go see Elatrosh in LA. I'd go see Riley Williams. There was one time where my team thought I was seeing a doctor. I went to Germany and did the Kobe shots. Like, so there's things that you do and your agent do that is discreet even from the team, from the league. So there is a situation where that is possible and the team doesn't know everything, but usually they at least can see the MRI scan. They can see everything, even if you get the second and third opinion. But
no, I get the sense I hear all that, Chandler. They know. They're just not. I mean, I had a conversation with somebody who's in the tight circle and had been admittedly pushing, saying, what do we call this? Like, what is the medical term? And that's where the communication, the cooperation came to an end. That's not something they're willing to share. So that is when I do think the Sixers have clarity about what Joel is up against and what he's dealing with. They don't feel like sharing it with the public.
Just feels like it's messier than it should be. But
by the way, you could just physically see that he's not himself. He wasn't himself during the Olympics. The way he moves, the way he cuts, like there's something there that I don't think is just going to heal, Sam. I think it's something that needs to be fixed.
Well, and to that point, because this is a major, major question, in that same conversation, I had asked essentially, like, was there any regret about doing the extension, right? And also, did you know at that time? And the answers I got were yes, we knew, and that there was a confidence level and their ability to manage it going forward. But they'll acknowledge that it's, to keep it with the Vegas odds mentality, like the odds are okay. They're not great, and they felt good enough about it to do that deal, but they certainly can't guarantee that he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Sam, I know you guys over at The Athletic had a story about, and we haven't had a good agency breakup story in a minute, but Zion Williamson parting ways with his agency. What's the deal? What's the timing? All of it. What happened? And it's CAA, the monsters.
It is. And I mean, that one, I don't admittedly have total clarity other than the general feeling of, Zion's struggles continuing as far as, that gap between who he can be and what the Pelicans would love him to be, what his family would love him to be, what the fans thought he was going to be, and who he truly is. It's another guy where your body is failing you. Obviously, that hamstring situation is the latest thing. And this, to me, it's funny. I had somebody hit me and was not thrilled that we made this a headline, and because we don't report every single agent player change. And my answer to that was, listen, this is a guy who's had the same agency, the same agent since coming into the league. And when he came into the league, he was like a shooting star. You know what I mean? Like, we couldn't wait to see this guy who was the biggest prospect really since LeBron. And then it's just been nothing but struggle and adversity ever since then. So the decision to part ways kind of mutually, to be honest, I think both sides realizing it's just, that business part of the relationship and their partnership wasn't working anymore. It's notable because to me, it reflects continued instability. It reflects, some level of angst as far as Zion and how he is trying to shape his career and who he thinks is running his ship. I have to assume, and this is an assumption, I think it's probably a pretty safe one, that if you get into the granular stuff of his contract, which is one of the most unique in the league, which still leaves the Pelicans certain outs to get off massive guaranteed money based on health thresholds and all kinds of specific, conditions of his deal that were the kind of the reflection of what he'd been through physically, then I can't imagine he's excited about that right now because he's still vulnerable. I don't think the Pelicans are going to exercise that stuff. I'd be surprised if they do. But, that's the business stuff that the agency handles. And so next thing you know, he's parting ways.
Man, it's messy, Sam. Next time we'll get you on, we'll talk about good, happy, fun stories. Like the Cleveland Cavaliers, things like that. Next time.
Is it too early to drink? This was tough. Yeah.
No, it's never too early. Check him out. The Athletic, Sam Amick. Chandler's been drinking. We'll be back.
Nice. You too.
That man has a familia, and we're going to start with some Giannis. Ooh, there's a good quote.
Here, mother of pearl. Go off the glass. Yeah, there it is.
And
this was
zoom in.
Yikes.
Just see. Oh, that's a different court. Nope. All right.
Good, Dre. I'm happy to see this, Dre. Stay healthy, my brother. Keep going. Take that
Big
round.
DeAndre Hunter fan.
Big time. One of the best guys in the world. Good to see him healthy.
Diabate, no.
Oh.
Man, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
They got to
Fun
show
fact.
finesse is hyping up the crowd after this.
Fun fact, Musa played on my
By the way-
AAU team.
Oh,
Ball,
by the way, I don't think I didn't notice. None of you congratulated the Spurs on a big win over the Warriors, but we'll keep it moving. Here's Wemby.
Oh, huge win for the Spurs, Michelle.
Shameful on you two. Shameful.
Didn't see a
Maybe
second
two
of it.
blocks in one possession. Oh,
It's
something
just-
about
I
that
don't know
felt
what to
illegal.
say. It did. Ooh. Don't you block. Bam.
Yes, sir. Yeah, gas.
Oh, clean.
That's rude.
That is rude.
I like that one. Actually, I do like that one.
Very nice.
Sometimes that's just more fun than a dunk. It just feels different. All right. No, Koulibaly, no.
Word messing up my eyes. Am I tripping?
That was like
Is
a
it right?
windmill reverse. Up and under.
like that.
This was nasty.
It's that yellow, Lou. It's like neon glow in the dark
Listen,
yellow.
I didn't even see the dunk because the court was messing me up.
Look.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I got that
God.
splash.
Sheesh.
It's pretty.
Oh, that was nice
I
right
don't
there.
like-
That
I-
might,
Yeah, that's the winner. That's the winner of today's.
that's
That's
it
the
right
winner?
there.
I kind of like the block. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, let's make some money. Run it back.
Four.
All right, NBA TV tonight. Thunder at the Kings. Kings, tough loss last night against Brooklyn. Mike Brown was spicy. If you didn't see it, Google it. And then, of course, OKC got Isaiah Hartenstein back. This will be his second game on the court with his new team. Talk to me, Chandler. No Chet, so obviously he's got to be the guy.
Oh, this is a huge signing for him for this reason. You know Chet's going to get banged up playing the 5. When he's missing time, it's great. And when Chet is available, it's even better because now you can slide Chet to the 4. He can take advantage of mismatches. He can play more pick and pop than kind of bang it down low. So to me, this is one of the more underrated signings. When you see the number he got, I think it was 80 or something million, people were a little shocked, but he deserves every penny. The value he brings offensively, defensively, can play the pocket pass, play a little two-man game with SGA. He's the perfect signing for them, especially with Chet out right now.
Who wins, guys? Lou, you first. Thunder, Kings.
I like OKC. I like OKC on the road for this one. They get some size back, give them a chance to get their groove back in the way that they like to play. And Hartenstein is a big energy guy. He's going to be one of those guys that's going to attack the rim. He's just going to be an energy guy, be a big ball of energy, excited to be back. So I like Thunder on the road.
Chandler?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they win. I think they cover. I love them. They're too good, too young, too fast. Give me the Thunder.
Yeah, Kings back-to-back too. It's not helpful. All right, prop party, Chandler, you're up first. We're doing New York, Denver. What you got?
Who do I got? That's right. I got the Nuggets money line. They're good at home. Like I said, I think it's the best home court advantage in the NBA. Knicks struggle on the road a little bit. I like that. And Michael Porter Jr., he has been hot. He's going to hoist at least 8 to 10 threes. He's making at least 3.
Hoist them, Lou. Oh,
I'm
20
going
seconds.
classic.
Go.
Yeah, I'm going classic. Give me Knicks money line, Brunson over 27.5, 33 to be specific.
Wow.
Dang. All right, I have Cat over on the points, Jalen over on the assists. I'm not going to jinx the winner of this one. We'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy your night.
Running back, run it up, the running back.